G'day, I'm Chris Jordaan, the CEO of Superior Gold, and I'm joined here today by James de Crespigny, who's the CEO of Catalyst Metals. And we're here today to talk about the proposed transaction between Catalyst and Superior Gold, where Catalyst would acquire Superior Gold.
Chris, good to have you back on the show. James, good to have you join us, new name to us. Look, I think obviously what we're about to talk today is on the lips of everyone at the moment. But I think if we can start first, James, a little bit of background on yourself, and your sort of track record. Give us a little précis, please.
Yes, thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Chris. So my name's James Champion de Crespigny. As Chris mentioned, I'm a managing director and chief executive of Catalyst Metals, an ASX-listed gold mining and exploration company. I joined the board of Catalyst 18 months ago and took on the reins of chief executive and managing director 6 months ago. I'm a chartered accountant by trade, but have spent more than 10 years in the mining industry across private equity and investment banking before joining the board of Catalyst at the times mentioned.
I do want you to lay out the reasons why you think people should vote for this, but I've got to ask, what is the problem that this acquisition solves? Because is a case a case of two equal companies coming together and benefiting from their respective assets and attributes, or is this just a knee-jerk reaction to market conditions? I mean, why do this and why do it now?
Yeah, good question, Matthew. To arrive at this point, there was considerable conversation between the Catalyst board and the Superior Gold board, and we spent a long time in debate working out how to get the best for all shareholders in this position. And so the ultimate price that we've come up with here, and why we think that works so well for both shareholders, is because number one, it does unite an entire gold belt under one Australian company. And by doing so, it brings very high grade ore feed on the Catalyst ground through the underutilized infrastructure on the Superior ground. In doing so, we significantly increase gold production and bring down costs. And so the benefits for both groups of shareholders is far more immediate now if we are to do this transaction than if we are to perhaps do something else in the future. There's no secret that the Platonic gold mine has had its challenges in the past. And so really the creativity here has been to work through the various issues to get a neat fit on how these two companies come together. Where as a bigger company, we've got more capital, more ore sources, more stable operations, significantly higher gold production, and we can make sure that we can realise this higher Australian gold price environment today, rather than perhaps let it slip through our fingers.
Right, but tell me this. Makes sense, right? We're going to produce more ounces, therefore more cash. We're going to reduce our kind of cost structure because there's cost savings to be had across the board. And as I understand it, both boards have agreed to this and serve some of your major shareholders. But for the regular investor looking into this thing, and specifically, I'm talking about Chris's shareholders. Like, what's in it for them? Why is this a good deal?
Yes, so at the heart of it, the Platonic ore body is not straightforward, and it has now been many years of ups and downs and really struggling for consistency. And the Superior board have really been seeking to stabilise operations in this environment. When you've got a rising gold price, you need to make the most of it by having stable and consistent operations. This transaction allows us to have stable and consistent operations. It not only stabilises the Platonic belt, but it gives Superior shareholders exposure to things like at Bendigo. Last week, we announced a drill hit of 6 metres at 197 grams in the Iris zone. That sits amongst a number of other very high-grade hits. It sits immediately adjacent to Fosterville. Some of your listeners might be familiar with the Fosterville story, but obviously an incredible success of 3 million ounces at 50 grams per tonne, and Australia's largest and most lucrative gold mine that was discovered by Kirkland Lake back in 2017, early 2017. And so by being a bigger company, by not only just concentrating on stabilizing those Platonic operations, giving much more exploration upside opportunity around Platonic, we also get exploration opportunities down around Bendigo and that wonderful 75 kilometres of strike that Catalyst has under its control there. So really a bigger, stronger company, but still all the benefits that Superior shareholders were seeking to have when they were just operating on their own.
Right, but if it wasn't kind of working out for Superior shareholders, is this a case of, this is the best option available to them, given that the Superior trajectory wasn't looking positive in this current environment? Your shareholders likewise may be thinking, well, hang on, we weren't doing too bad. Why don't we just stick to our knitting and do what we do? So I'm trying to understand why the coming together of the assets, when one set of assets wasn't kind of working, and the bringing together of the district is great, but why specifically does this merger, so this acquisition need to happen? These merging of assets need to happen. Where are these cost savings going to come from?
Specifically on the Platonic belt itself, it has always been an aspiration of Superior's board and management to put itself in a much higher gold production group of peers. So in Australia, our mid-cap peers produce around 200,000 ounces, and this transaction allows that to happen. And so the many synergies and cost savings that come, the industrial logic of putting these tenements together, the Trident deposit, for example, that sits on the Catalyst ground is 400,000 ounces at 8 grams. And we're able to feed that immediately through the Platonic processing plant. It sits on a mining license today, and so we will have those activities coming straight away. With a Platonic on its own today, it doesn't have access to those high-grade ore feeds. This is a consolidation that really Superior has wanted to do for a long time, and now these two companies coming together allow all of our shareholders to benefit from those wonderful 8-gram type ore bodies that we see on that Merrimire project.
Clearly, and it's always been an issue with Superior Gold that we were ore short. So our supply of ore was limited, and we didn't have, the really sweet options that Catalyst can now bring with the acquisition of Vango. As James said, Trident is a high grade ore body. It's within shooting distance from our processing plant. Our processing plant's only being utilized at about half of its rate. That's just for the current mill, and as you know, there's another 1.2 million tons which is in care and maintenance, milling capacity, which is care and maintenance. So it's ultimately addressing probably one of the key issues that Superior Gold always struggled with, and that's ore supply. And bringing these two businesses together makes so much sense to be able to then invest the money to develop those ore bodies on Catalyst side, and then bring the ore through. And then by also doing that to address the variability from the single source that we're currently feeding into our mill, that is significantly improved insofar as variability is concerned. And what James is talking about, that consistent feed, consistent operation at a higher rate, lower cost, all of those benefits flow from that.
Right. Okay. So you basically feed for quite industrial size infrastructure that you guys have, but you didn't have the ore.
That's correct.
Makes sense. I totally get it. So let's just talk about the deal structure and who gets what. I'm not necessarily talking about the makeup of the new board, but I'm saying for shareholders, what are they getting out of it, and what's your expectation of them? Because sometimes when these things happen, shares are allocated and there's this massive overhang looming if you don't perform. So tell me a little bit about the deal structure.
The deal structure that we have entered into has been unanimously supported by the board of directors of Superior, as well as being supported by 23% of the existing Superior Gold shareholder base. That mostly comes from sophisticated institutional investors after much conversation with ourselves and with the Superior Gold board. What we decided on was that Catalyst would give 0.35 of a share to each Superior Gold share, and ultimately would own a roughly 25% of the combined company. So by these two assets coming together, these two companies coming together, Catalyst would sit there as having the balance sheet and these high-grade ore feed, and then pairing that with the Superior Gold infrastructure to then really unite that belt under the one Australian company and under that share split.
Okay. And with regards to Chris, this might be one for you in terms of your institutional holders. Obviously, it's been a long kind of fallow period for them. Are they in this for the ride? I mean, at what point do you get their kind of commitment?
Yeah, well, in fact, as James already indicated, these four the major shareholders, institutional shareholders, have already signed up. So that's really looking good. That talks about 22% of our shareholders. In addition to that, the whole board has signed up, management signed up, etc. And in fact, with the information circular that's just gone out, it was mailed, I think, on the June the 2nd of this year. We're starting to see shareholders now putting in their votes for the deal, and we're very encouraged with the results up to now. So there's certainly, from our major shareholders, significant support, and it's mostly driven by the fact of the very straightforward industrial rationale to make this deal go forward, and the benefits that will flow from it. I think there's one other benefit that might not be as clear to shareholders, and as you know, Superior Gold has been in litigation with Bendigo, which is now owned by Catalyst, for a number of years. And in essence, what this transaction will do will bring that litigation to an end, and without any delay, allow the development of ore bodies on the previously Bendigo tenements, which is now Catalyst, which ultimately will unlock feed for the mill, which is currently being operated at Superior Gold. So once again, there's from so many vantage points, this deal makes sense and certainly delivers an accelerated solution to the issues that we've been dealing with at Superior Gold.
And if I may just finish off, because I'm trying to also understand what, as an investor, I could be investing into. What's happening here? Is this is obviously a natural fit in terms of the locations of the assets and also the infrastructure versus ore feed. Makes total sense. Is this the beginning of something? We're seeing a lot of M&A going on out there. You're talking the language of aiming for 200,000 ounces, which puts you into kind of mid-tier, or close to the mid-tier category. Do you expect more kind of roll-ups in the space? Is it something that you're looking to? Obviously, you've got to get this thing out of the way and embed it in. But does that conversation happen at board level? Has it been happening with regards as part of these negotiations?
Yeah, very, very good question, Matthew. I mean, we've been speaking for quite a while. We acquired Bendigo back in January of this year, and then we transacted amongst ourselves in February. There was a lot of strategizing beforehand, and the idea being that what we are trying to achieve here by putting it on the ASX, the ability to use ASX script, the ability to interact with other Australian companies, offers really a litany of opportunities for the combined entity going forward. So there was considerable conversation that Superior's directors really wanted to get comfort as to that future strategy and where it was going. Was it not only getting Platonic on a more stable and reliable footing, but other opportunities regionally in both Western Australia, but also down there in and around Bendigo and other opportunities across Australia. By being an Australian-listed company, those opportunities are very much open to us, and there is nothing wrong with Canadian investors holding Australian-listed shares. That operates in a very, very similar way, except they get all the benefits of the value uplift that come with being an Australian domiciled company.
Understood. Like James, one, lovely to meet you and speak to you. We've not met or spoken before. But James, if you don't mind, I'm going to hand back to Chris because he's got to talk to his shareholders and persuade them, or tell them why he feels they should vote for this transaction. So, Chris, do you want to take us out with a message to your shareholders?
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, our ultimate responsibility of the board is to steer the company in a way that is in the best interest of our shareholders. And as we said before, our board unanimously, including myself, firmly believe that this transaction is in the best interest of our shareholders and for the future of this business. Now, firstly, there's a premium for shareholders, superior shareholders of 59% based on the closing prices of June the 2nd this year. Secondly, the combined strength of Superior and Catalyst provides ownership of a well-funded, diversified and Australian stock exchange listed producer with proven operating and exploration capabilities. And that significantly improves the scale and access to capital compared to a single asset company. Now, from this ability, we will be able to unlock future growth by ongoing exposure to value-creating growth projects at Platonic plus exploration upside, which will cover the whole belt. And as you know, this belt has, in certain areas, is significantly underexplored. Now, supported by this better capitalized company, it will provide access to a stronger balance sheet and more diversified portfolio of assets. And as I said before, supply of ore or diversity in sources of ore for the milling facility. And in addition, it's going to provide improved investor recognition and re-rating potential through improved trading liquidity and, of course, enhanced public profile in Australia. And I already spoke about the benefits from an opportunity whereby ore can be accessed, developed on the previously Vango properties, now Catalyst, to be able to address many of the issues that we've had and we're experiencing now with a single source of ore supply to our process plant.
The sum of the parts. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time today. James, thank you. And Chris, thank you very much. And good luck with the vote. Let us know how you get on.
Thank you very much, Matt.